Hi, welcome to Perspectives with Katie Kempner, which is a series of inspiring conversations with incredible working women who are balancing very busy lives. Today, my guest is Sarah Robb O'Hagan, the president of Equinox. Welcome.
Hi. Hi.
So let's just jump right in and tell me a little bit about your role.
I'm president of Equinox, which is a global fitness lifestyle company, from very, very high-end fitness clubs under the Equinox brand to value gym experiences under our Blink Fitness brand, through to pure yoga and SoulCycle, which you may have heard of, as well as even creative juice. So we're moving now into products that sort of support our fitness club services. So it's a very wide portfolio of businesses, all in that global lifestyle fitness space, which is really fun.
And what's a day like for you?
Busy. It's funny, I often think to myself how like the merging of work and home is pretty much happening all the time. So my day always starts with working out, and working out for me isn't obviously an opportunity to be fit, but it's also a time when I really start to organize my thoughts from what I'm going to be doing for the day business-wise. And then, you know, I'm jumping on the train, I'm getting to the office, meetings all day, I'm working on my laptop on the way home, and then I'll spend time with my kids in the evening and then usually get back online. I think that's fairly typical these days.
Yeah. I think that when women are trying to balance so many different things, one of the things that seems a lot of times to fall to the wayside is stuff for themselves. And you mentioned fitness, you know, working that in. I mean, how important do you think it is to, besides doing all this other stuff, also make time for what you're doing?
I have 3 children, and when I had particularly the first 2, I was definitely caught up in that trap of not putting any time into myself and constantly feeling like a lot of guilt, like I wasn't getting to spend enough time with the kids because the job was too much, or I wasn't doing the job well enough, and I just felt like I wasn't doing as good as I should, and therefore I wasn't putting enough time into myself. And I think it wasn't until I had the realization that I've actually just got to be super healthy and strong in my own mind and body to manage it all. And so that's when I started prioritizing. And I think once you start to realize, put the guilt aside and focus on you being the most healthy, best person you can be, then you actually give a lot more back to those around you, and it sort of works a lot better.
You've had such an amazing career at Virgin, at Nike, Gatorade, and the sports nutrition drinks at Pepsi, and now at Equinox. Can you tell me just a little bit sort of about the, well, I just said it all. No, but the trajectory of your career.
I was pretty ambitious, and I was planning things out a certain way. It doesn't always work out the way you think it's going to, and I think the most important thing for me has always been when an opportunity presented itself, even when I knew it was quite a risky opportunity, if that door is open in front of you, just run through it. Every time I took a jump, it was a scary, scary jump, and it was something, you know, involved relocating my family to a place I didn't, you know anybody, and I could remember certain times going, oh my goodness, if this doesn't work out, it's going to be a flame out. But those are the sort of defining experiences that help you to get up to the next level.
Well, I know that actually when you took the position at Gatorade, it was at an interesting time for you, right?
Yeah, no, this was a perfect example. I was doing very well in my career at Nike. I absolutely adored the company. I actually had no intentions of leaving at the time, but I was living in Los Angeles and they were looking at relocating me back to Portland, Oregon. So I basically was in a situation where I had to physically move my family, and then out of the blue comes this phone call saying, well, there's this opportunity to work for Gatorade. I saw, well, it's based in Chicago, which would be a great life experience for my kids, and it was a turnaround opportunity, which was scary, but I also knew if I could be the one to come in and help a team turn this business around and get it going again, that would be a huge step up for my career, more so than taking the sort of known path of staying with Nike where I was. I would say it was 100 times harder and more challenging than I ever anticipated, but I also look back and go, that's what made it so rewarding. So, you know, I think I learned so much from the experience. It was awesome.
And there was also one more thing when you took the job, right?
Yes. Yes, I was pregnant. I do remember the person I was interviewing with actually calling and saying to him, okay, I'm just going to have to put it out there. I was at the very early stages of my 3rd pregnancy, and I said, I completely understand if you think this is a reason for me not to take the job, because I knew it was a crisis that I was walking into. And he was awesome. He said, no, I think you're the right person for the job, and therefore we're going to make this work. And so You know, I jumped in. It was obviously harder than I expected, but I've told the story often that I think the pregnancy, in a funny way, just helped me to get some early perspective, and it forced me to take a little bit of a time out that helped me digest what was going on with the business, because this business was in massive decline, and every day you had media and analysts and people just criticizing everything we were doing. And somehow the 4 to 6 weeks that I had to step away and just get a completely different perspective actually helped me get some strength to come back and say, no, we do know what we're doing, and we are moving forward, and we are going to do it this way, and it's going to be okay.
And were you really able to focus on taking the time out? Now, this is just more of like a maternity leave in general question.
No, it's funny. The other two I timed perfectly because I had had a promotion, so I was moving into a new job. I've always really encouraged women on maternity leave to take the time out, because it is such a short amount of time in the scheme of things, and it's so special that you'll never get it back. Whereas with Gabby, my third, I didn't have nearly as much time. I was on conference calls and breastfeeding, and I wasn't good. And you know, I wasn't being a good mother, and I wasn't helping the business that was in crisis. It just wasn't good. So I think my experience now, when I see other women going through it, is I try so hard to help them get that space, because I think it's, you know, it's important. And I think nobody tells you when you have a baby, it takes about 12 months after you've given birth to actually physically be back and be yourself, and it's hard when you're under stress going through it all.
But I think sometimes women really feel like, well, what if they start giving my responsibilities to somebody else?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's a really valid thought. Even play out the worst case scenario that they did. It's only 3 months, so you're going to come back and you're going to be stronger for the time you took out to come back and assert yourself. It's a tough time in your life when you're trying to balance that phase of your career for a lot of women where they're really in hard jobs where they're trying to progress through to the senior levels. And I just think sometimes recovery and regeneration and taking the time for yourself brings you back stronger, you know?
You've had such a great career and you're such a great role model. Is there anything that you could now, looking back, a mistake that you made that you could let others know, like, well, don't do this, you know?
It's funny, I almost would flip that question around, because I am a big advocate of massive failures. I think that they're one of the things that propels you forward. And for me personally, I had the experience early in my career of getting fired. I was the only one picked out of a crowd, and I lost my job. And at the time I lost my application for citizenship. Like, I literally had 3 months to figure out how to stay in this country. And so it was a hugely difficult period of my life, but it's also what helped me understand what my true passions were. And it also made me understand that I could survive pretty much anything. Now, like, almost nothing phases me, because I know that I bounce back from that. So I often tell people, don't be scared of the really scary things that may happen to you, because it isn't a straight line.
Okay, so building on that, my last question is, if you have any piece of advice for someone starting out, or maybe somewhere in their career looking to make a change that has helped you, what would that be?
I think the most important thing, and it sounds so cliche, but is just to find your passion and follow it. Because I think that's when everyone asks me about work-life balance and all these things, and I look at the number of jobs I've had, and I think when you're really passionate about what you do, you don't have to worry about work-life balance, because work, if you think about it, and the kind of jobs we're in, it's an incredibly fulfilling process to spend time thinking and creating and developing new things for consumers. And if you're passionate about the space, the act of working isn't work.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me for another episode of Perspectives with Katie Kempner.